Welcome back to Weekend Edition, where we are discussing the fallout of the communal violence in Orissa that seems to have pitted in some parts Hindus versus Christians. What are its implications? Let's just have a look at what the Home Minister Shivraj Patil has to say when asked if the Orissa government should seek a CBI inquiry into the Kandhamal violence and the Swami's killing.
Whenever the state governments ask for the CBI inquiry, or whenever the High Court or the Supreme Court says that the CBI inquiry should be held, the government has always accepted that kind of request or the demand or the direction. In this case also that can happen.
Well, both the central and the state government are really in the line of fire. Let's ask the next question. Is the Vishwa Hindu Parishad being demonized through this conflict? John Dayal, if I can put that to you. After this violence, there have been various claims made by certain people that the VHP and the Bajrang Dal should be also banned like the Simi, that in a sense what's happening in Orissa is another form of terrorism. By demonizing the VHP, are you not only accentuating the nature of the conflict?
I am one of the very few people in this country who is against all bans on films, on theatres, on political parties, on fanatic groups, on lunatic groups. I'm against bans. Is the VHP being demonized? No. Is it being exposed? Yes.
But my fear is, Renuka Narayan, Manoranjan Mohanty, in a sense, extreme voices, some would say, John Dayal on one side, VP Singhal on the other, the space for the moderate voices is getting less and less. Absolutely. Perhaps even in a debate like this, perhaps in general. No. Is that your worry? John Dayal doesn't represent all Christians, VP Singhal doesn't represent all Hindus.
It's not just voices, it's hearing.
We're all
going deaf.
But is that a fear? That if you demonize the VHP, if you constantly say it's a terrorist group, in a sense, are you perhaps alienating some of those voices who the moderates could otherwise capture?
I think so. Like credit where credit is due, and equally put people under the scanner case to case.
I mean, the question, point he said, that you equate VHP to Simi.
So there will be some who will equate the Bajrang Dal because of the kind of activities that have gone on the ground. Violence is violence. Yeah. Whether the violence is committed by Simi or whether the violence is committed by the Bajrang Dal.
Violence is associated with a foreign country.
So is that enough? Why not distance yourself from all forms of violence? You've said the VHP does good work. We concede that. The Vanvasi Kalyan Kendra does some good work, no doubt about it. But how can it also be seen to be endorsing violence on the ground?
Yeah, what about the Sri Ram Sena that just vandalized the same show?
If action had been taken promptly, nobody would have reacted.
So now you're going to
does not act.
So yes, Professor Monty.
See, all religions have a fringe that is extremist and violence oriented. For example, the Oklahoma federal building in the U.S. was bombed by a Christian fascist. So there were Sikh terrorists, there were Islamic terrorists, and Buddhist terrorists in the case in Japan.
So you're saying that
and Hindu terrorists also, but they don't represent
all of
the community as a whole. Therefore, the point I would like to present is, you see, it's about our concept of India. Is it a multi-religious, multicultural, pluralistic society where all religions have a place equally, with status that is to be respected by everybody else, and with tolerance?
Mr. BP Singhal, it's perhaps too late in the day to moderate your views, but perhaps don't you think that the time has come maybe? The time has come for a dialogue. Why should everything be settled through confrontation, through violence? Let's assume that the Swami died. Let's assume that he was killed perhaps by some people whom at the moment we don't know. Let's investigate. Let's then have a dialogue, have a process of reconciliation. Right. Why should the first thing be, let's avenge his death?
When did the murder take place? 23rd. And when did the revenge start?
Churches. So what happens later?
What happens when they find
the community that concept?
In an orphanage in Bargarh district, a Hindu woman is burnt to death. The orphanage was set on fire. A Hindu woman is burnt to death. Churches are destroyed. Was that necessary?
Absolutely
if you had such a strong case and the Swami indeed was killed perhaps even by some local Christian group, why not have a full investigation into it?
I will not give license to violence. No. But what happens is,
but you will protect those responsible
on the ground, if immediate redressal operations don't take place.
Right.
People react on their own.
Okay, Tathagat.
And you can't stop it.
Tathagat Sarpati, isn't that the fear? You said that the Biju Janata Dal, and there are many others who say on the ground, Naveen Patnaik is a tough leader. But if he is such a tough leader, why should it be that the violence should be allowed to simmer? It's actually even spread now beyond Kandamal. Doesn't that worry you that on the ground perhaps there is a laboratory that's being used? The tribals and the Dalits are being used as a laboratory perhaps for a larger political experiment.